everybody for attending. We'll probably get a few stragglers coming in the back as well. So this session is Travel's Next Era. So this is a kind of a, rather than talking about a particular product or a particular discipline in the industry or a particular segment, we're going to take a big view on kind of what's coming next. Travel's Next Era, which is the theme for Phocuswire Europe, which is the big conference in May. It's the sister company of who I work for, which is Phocuswire. I'm the editor-in-chief of Phocuswire. And what we wanted to do with this session was really kind of take a step back from all the kind of the day-to-day operational stuff and things about vendors and startups, and just explore some of the issues that are kind of affecting people now and where they might go in the future. So we've got about 40-45 minutes. I'll introduce you to our guest in a moment. We have the Slido device, the Slido system. If you've got any questions, they will come up on the screen and we'll see them here. Or you can even be old school if you're on the front row and put your hand up if you've got a question. We're not completely tech-based for Q&As, so if you want to do that, just put your hand up and we'll get to you. So, our guest, right. So Joel Brandon Bravo is in a unique position here. He's going to be very embarrassed about this bit, but when you look at his career path, he's in a really good spot to be able to talk to us here. So over the years, he's worked for, I met Joel when he worked for an organisation called What's On When, which was a content play, which was then bought by From Us, which was about inspiration and also content. He then joined TravelZoo, which was about deals and meta search. And within the confines of that, he used to work alongside all his partners and the commercial partners of TravelZoo were online travel agencies and hotels and airlines and tour operators. So if we put all that together, Joel, he's got a really good kind of experience of how this industry has evolved over the last 10, 15 years, and we hope has got a good view on some of the things that are coming down the pipe as well. So a round of applause for our guest, Joel Brandon Bravo.
Thank you, Rob. It's actually sadly, it's 21 years I've been in digital travel now.
Okay. It's more than me, which is I'm glad to say. What I should say, his title is up there. He's since left TravelZoo last year or the year before.
About 30 months ago.
And he is now the Vice President of Travel and Digital Solutions at TransPerfect, which is the kind of the umbrella company behind translations.com, which many of you will have heard of, a very well-known vendor in the space. So, here we go. Okay, so Travel's Next Era. Joel, so we'll start off really asking you kind of what excites you about the future. It's a really broad question, and it's just sort of kind of want to get your umbrella view on things before we start diving into stuff.
What excites me about the future? I mean, this is very much a personal thing. I'm a digital geek. I love technology. I love technology that either solves problems, makes things easier. When I see an idea, I always think, does it make things easier? Does it make things cheaper? Does it make things quicker? And does anyone care? And if it does, then that's the bit of technology that I kind of get excited about. I guess I make no apologies for being eager in that. And then how that obviously impacts travel. I've been in travel, as I say, 21 years now. So when I find somebody who cracks a service in a way that, let's say, Uber did for cab rides, TripAdvisor did for user reviews, all these businesses, Airbnb did for allowing people to share their homes and experience a different travel experience. Those are the kinds of things that I'm excited about. I still think that while travel was one of the first industries to really embrace the internet in sort of the late 90s, early 90s, and put their offering online, there are still some areas where, despite that 20 years, we haven't leveraged digital to really improve the experience. Now that's going through airports, or that's checking in hotels, or that's picking up a hire car. So I'm actually quite excited about what the next 10 years is going to bring in terms of solving all those slightly irritating parts of the travel experience, and whether that's inspiration, booking, in destination, all the way through that user journey.
Okay, so that's a bit of, say, an umbrella view. Having seen the way the industry has evolved, whether that's commercially and who's come and who's gone, and the emergence of some of those things that you referenced, who do you think kind of wins from an industry perspective, and maybe it's sectors or whether it's companies, as we kind of look forward?
Well, whoever wins is the one that serves the customer best. I mean, I know it's a cliche, put yourselves in the eye of the customer, and I think those people that solve that customer experience are ultimately winning, either because they're bringing something new. I think the sort of the next wave of who is going to win. I would say the last 20 years, what I saw, certainly from a digital marketing perspective, the first wave was all around sort of bid optimization. Who can buy the most traffic on Google in the most effective way? So once everybody was sort of pretty much bidded their margins out with Google, the next phase became who can convert the customer the best. And that's where you saw like Booking.com winning in the hotel booking space, because they were all about how do I drive conversions. And actually, they probably pushed it too far. It's all about there's only 3 rooms left, there's 5 people looking at this room right now, and actually the experience started to get a little bit horrible because they were just trying to drive that conversion so hard. And I know there's been pushback with European legislation, etc. But I think what we're entering now is the third phase, where they've done the bidding optimization, they've done the conversion optimization, and now it's about the personalization optimization. So I definitely saw, certainly, halfway through at TravelZoo, I realised we can't just keep growing by sending out more and more emails, and ultimately, the next wave of people who sign up maybe won't be as engaged as the first wave. The only way we could grow when I was at TravelZoo was by sending people stuff that they were more likely to be interested in than just generic stuff that we were sending out randomly. I think the best illustration of that was we had a BA Holidays sale, which was print on business class seats. And I thought, well, if I send that to everybody, not everybody wants to spend the extra premium and fly business class. So I sent half the audience the generic BA Holidays offer, and the other half I pulled out of the data, people who had clicked on a holiday for more than 1,500 quid per person in the last 6 months. I mean, you would expect it to be a better click-through rate, better engagement rate. The click-through rate was something like 3,000% better on the targeted audience. It was like 0.7% click-through rate versus 30% click-through rate. So the strongest argument I possibly had to go back and say, we need to be personalising. We need to stop just sending the same stuff to everyone, learning what they're actually interested in, and evolving on that. And I think certainly from the acquisition side, the people who will win are no longer those who just drive that conversion. It's just putting the right message in front of the right person at the right time, and they're really the ones that win.
Okay, so that was the kind of the half-full version of the question, the half-empty version of the question, who stands to lose out? And don't just reframe the answer by saying people that don't focus on customer service. Let's talk about kind of types of companies and segments of industry.
I would say in terms of sectors that I see are struggling to redefine themselves, I think at one end of the spectrum, you've got the aggregators who are able to drive volume because they can drive volume, they can drive lower price, because they can drive lower price, they can drive lower volume, and they're creating this kind of virtuous circle that scale and volume can deliver for them. And then at the other end of the spectrum, you've got the more niche operators who are trying to service a different customer who doesn't want to just go and get the cheapest deal and buy the same product everyone else is, but is looking for more experiential travel. They may be travelling for some particular passions. And what you're also seeing is some success for those companies that are really focused on servicing a particular niche or service. And I would say the losers are the people in the middle. The losers are the people in the middle who are basically accessing the same bed stock via the bed banks. They're medium-sized operators, but they are failing to either compete with the large aggregators who are consolidating, or offer something different and unique, and then find an audience that they can speak to. And I think those guys in the middle have got real trouble on their hands.
Now, it's interesting that you say that. Ian McCabe, who many of you will remember was the CEO of lastminute.com, one of the many former CEOs of lastminute.com when it was the original lastminute.com, not under its current ownership. And he was saying that back in when I interviewed him, which was 2006, 2007. And he said that was something that was going to happen in the next couple of years. And here we are 13 years later, and it's the same premise, right? So those people in the middle have still survived, perhaps.
Surviving. I mean, a lot have also, gone the other way and not survived. And actually, to be fair to Last Minute, I know they went through a lot of CEOs in the last 20 years. But Last Minute, they had an innovations lab, and they were doing augmented reality in like 2004 or something. I remember downloading this app and being able to hold it around in London, and then actually it would flag up with little pink arrows as to where there was a restaurant in. So he's probably not wrong, but I think maybe Last Minute had a way of sort of calling things early. And I stand by what I said. It sounds like he agrees with them. I think they're just going to challenge, differentiate themselves. So I wouldn't agree that it's not happening.
Okay, I know we're supposed to be talking about the next era, but
Yeah.
some of the reminiscing is good kind of groundwork for looking forward. I mean, just finally on that point about kind of those in the middle, would you have predicted that an organisation as large as Thomas Cook would have arguably found itself in the middle, and it was probably one of those that has gone through the demise?
Yeah, I think if you listened to the CEOs of both TUI and Thomas Cook, TUI set out their stall that they were very much going to differentiate on products, they were very much going to try and own a unique product. Thomas Cook had a whole raft of problems which were not necessarily about reinventing itself. They certainly had problems that they weren't competing in either the OTA aggregator space. They kept trying to launch, they about 3 times said we're going to launch Europe's biggest OTA and failed. So I think they failed to compete at the aggregator level, and they failed to compete at the niche specialist, which TUI did a great job of acquiring all of these specialist businesses that served those niches and getting exclusive product. So even though they were huge, they were one of those people who I think got quite good. Plus all the other problems to do with debt financing, the other boring stuff as to why they came down and working there.
The stuff that the bean counters concern themselves with. Okay, so when let's say when you and I first met.
Sorry, just on that, and reinvesting in the high street with the co-op acquisition, right? So that is in terms of seeing where the future's going. Seeing a company then reinvest in the high street when all the numbers are going the other way, and everybody doing a slight kind of post-mark moment.
Okay. So let's use the time reference from when you and I first met, which was around what Tom went from as era 2005, up to now, and then looking forward. Did you foresee, perhaps in the middle of the noughties, the power that an organisation the size of Google was eventually going to have in the travel industry? And the second part of the question is, where does that go next with their kind of stranglehold, if we can use that as a stranglehold as the word?
Yeah, it's an interesting one because I came from a content to drive organic search. And when I arrived at Travelzoo, I was trying to persuade the CEO to invest more in search. And Chris Locken, the guy at the time, actually said to me, "You can do all that, but just be very clear about the direction Google is going. All these organic slots are going to increasingly disappear as they strive to grow, and everybody will end up paying to play." And I think, to be fair to him, when you look how far down the organic results are now for a hotel search, he was 100% right. And then the second thing that we have to be clear about is that ultimately, if everybody's stepping off point for planning their travel is Google, and what they buy is a flight or a hotel, Google wants to own every single penny in between that process, right? So they're quite happy taking the largest checks in the world from Booking.com in order to allow Booking.com to buy traffic at a loss. And the reason Booking.com are buying at a loss is because they think maybe the second time, maybe the third time, but eventually that customer is going to come directly to Booking.com. And so Google are quite happily taking the checks off Booking.com now, but they're also building out all these products so that they can provide the search, they can provide the interaction between the customer's first search and the asset holder. And that was one of my worries at Travelzoo and all these other intermediaries, and probably why Hugo sold cheap flights and all these other things in the market, is because ultimately Google are going to own pretty much every step between that initial search and when someone actually pays the asset holder for their travel experience. So, watch the space. Everybody is in between.
What gaps do they still have in their kind of potential for involvement in travel, if we're looking forward then?
Well, certainly I think packaging is such a complex product. I mean, it's taken them a lot longer than you would think it would take a technology company like Google even to get things like flight search. I mean, that was probably when they bought
So they bought ITA software for 600 million in 2010.
2010, right. So here we are 10 years later, but it's like 5 years in, they still hadn't integrated enough airlines, so that Skyscanner, Kayak, all these other people were still beating them on flight search, because they just, I think we did a search from London to Berlin and they didn't have Lufthansa, right? And you were just saying, well, if you haven't got the same data as your competitors, now they're catching up there, they're catching up in hotels, but again, hotels is such a fragmented business that integrating either individual properties or groups is slow going for them. And I think being able to do effective package search, it's so much more complicated than all the other bits. So that componentization of travel is something that is going to take them a long time to then try and replicate in terms of flight and hotel only searches.
they are starting to move into short-term rental private accommodation as well in the last year, so that's good. Car rental is something that they haven't got into specifically from a kind of a meta search perspective. Tours and activities started last year, so that was the next one that they're ticking off. So there are still a few to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think those brands that do a great job then of the customer experience, the aggregators in terms of tours and activities, or one thing Google won't do is, let's say hotels.com do buy 10 get you 11 free. Use your business travel to fund your next leisure break. That's the sort of thing that Google won't be able to compete with. But ultimately, people are going to go potentially direct to hotels.com or booking.com if the value add ultimately is there, even if they've had to bid in Google to then get that first link.
Okay. So you said earlier that large sums of money being spent by large travel organisations. So in 2019, between the pair of them, Booking Holdings, which is owner of Booking.com, and Expedia Group spent $10.6 billion on digital marketing. Booking.com results came out last night. I haven't read them, but Expedia's results came out last week, and their spend increased 10% year over year. So in 2019, they spent a little bit more than the $6 billion that they were spending in 2018. Either that's not sustainable, or something is going to happen to the way digital marketing is evolving going forward. Given your Travelzoo history and working with brands and their marketing spend, what do you sense is going to happen to that kind of digital marketing ecosystem that kind of feeds the beast that is increasingly competing against you?
Well, obviously we're having to look at other channels now. You constantly hear about businesses that have backed away from Google, and again, going back to the Travelzoo time, we shifted when I started to spending about 2.5 million in Google, to by the time I left, we were spending about 2.5 million in Facebook. So people have to shift the channels in which they're acquiring customers and acquiring traffic.
Just on that, was Facebook as effective ROI-wise as Google AdWords?
Yes, 100%. And also the ability to sort of target the people who like this, like all sorts of this. There's a degree to which it's more sophisticated than any kind of Google targeting that we could do. So that was obviously part of the reason. It's just driven based on where is the highest quality subscriber for the lowest price. So yeah, 100%. That's true in terms of channel shift. In terms of how else are they differentiating, I mean, that's to where I am now at TransPerfect Translations.com. It's partly because brands who want to sell direct to the customer now appreciate, back to my first point about personalisation, the reason Booking.com kind of was started on Expedia were eating not the hotel group's lunch as they saw it and mopping up their bookings is, and I've heard Baz from Booking talk about this, is because they provided the hotel into multiple languages. So if you were Chinese wanting to come and stay in London and the IHG website wasn't in Chinese when you tried to book the Intercontinental, then you're going to book at Booking.com where it's in Chinese and you can learn, read reviews and that sort of thing. So what's happening is the hotel groups or the airlines, all these companies are now trying to play catch up and offer that direct to the customer service through making sure their site is available in the markets and in the languages. And that was one of the many reasons that I moved on from Travelzoo to go on to TransPerfect, to try and help travel brands to have that direct relationship with their customer.
I was going to ask you at the end to talk a little bit about the new job, but you've kind of done it, so that's great. So, how long do you think that kind of, we would say the kind of the ecosystem where they are spending so much money with a potential competitor, how long do you think that's going to last before either the bin counters, the CFO at Expedia Group and Booking Holdings just say, look, enough is enough? And we've seen some fairly senior executive changes in Expedia in the last 3 or 4 months, which may be as a result of that ongoing strategy. But what do you think is going to happen?
It's all the data, right? I mean, these guys are probably got the most sophisticated data mapping of any companies in the world. They will keep spending money when the calculation of the lifetime value of that customer and how many times they have to remarket that customer before that customer comes to them direct adds up. And they've got sophisticated modelling for that. And I think when Booking.com realises that they're now getting sufficient traffic coming to them direct, and they have other channels that they can stop losing money on that first click, then they will start to pull back. And Google knows that, and that's why Google's obviously building out their own hotel search, because they know that ultimately there's going to come a point when the Booking.com experience maybe spend less money, but actually maybe it's the brands themselves that are then going to step up if they can now compete, because that deeper integration, because the the value that the bookings of Expedia add is that ability to search. People haven't made their mind up what they want yet, to go to the OTAs where they get the choice. Now, if Google's starting to replace that service layer of allowing people to search and choose on that first page, then the brands have got more chance to actually then sort of bid and own that traffic directly, I think, in the long term.
Okay, so you said alternative channels, you referenced Facebook, but there's nothing else of scale that can kind of really take up the slack if they stop spending through something like Google.
It's certainly hard. Google's still going to be generating money one way or another. So whether the money's coming from the brands or whether it's coming from the aggregators, they're still going to be charging and auctioning off those clicks. So that's never going to stop. It's not like that's going to dry up. In terms of leveraging social channels, if people start to spend time in other areas, then that's an opportunity. And we've seen a lot more, brands. When I was again back to TransPerfect, when you saw things like Holiday Pirates and some of these other brands who just sort of decided to move away from email, move away from Google, and just use social as their route to market. We're all seeing a huge amount of growth in the degree to which Instagram, which didn't even exist when I first joined Travelzoo, is being used for travel inspiration. Friends and family recommendations has always been a massive driver in terms of where people go. Partly because I think online travel still does a pretty poor job of the inspiration part of the funnel, that people will still get. There's so much information out there online, but I'm still going to ask a mate where he went on holiday, and if it was any good, and if it was really good, I might go there because I trust him. And what those social channels are doing is sort of negating that need to have the idea and do the search, because you can just browse where your mates went, and that looked really good. And I think it's a different kind of upper funnel. But I think it's starting to work really well in terms of the data around how much content on Instagram is around travel, is around people sharing experiences. It is a sweet spot for the travel industry as a traffic source.
So you said in your last answer that travel does a pretty poor job on the inspiration phase. So first of all, why? And two, what can they do to get better as they look forward?
I think, why traditionally, OTAs just had this sort of search box, and you'd say, where do you want to go? And even if you knew you wanted to go to Greece, you'd then have a list of 40 different islands that you'd go to, and you didn't know which one. And there was the other end of the spectrum was they just had offers or destinations on their homepage, which is pretty much akin to walking past the travel agent and seeing the cars in the windows. And there wasn't this sort of bit in between, and it's kind of learn what you like, or ask you questions, or does what the likes of Tinder or other apps do, just saying click on this if you like it, or Thread in fashion, where it kind of shows you things, and as you click on the things you like, it starts to learn, and then will offer up things that it thinks it would like to suggest to you. I actually think the likes of Travelzoo did a reasonable job of that by saying, look, you can come and search, and we haven't got everything, but we've curated a selection of things, and we'll send you an email with some really great ideas. So they did. I'm not going to say they were the best in the world, but they started to do a good job of kind of solving for that inspiration piece. I think I forgot the second part of the question.
So how do they get better?
By learning from their customers, by actually providing also better tools. I've seen better tools both in terms of social or fashion, in terms of being able to try and offer up recommendations in the same way that a traditional travel agent would or a home worker would, trying to learn what you're into. And if you don't have kids, they're not showing you a massive resort with 5 pools and kids clubs and all that sort of thing, showing you the more boutique off the beaten track that a couple who doesn't live in that type of resort with them.
I'm amazed. Well, I haven't seen many of the sessions here because we've been recording in our studio, but I'm surprised we haven't had more things about TikTok. Because my kids, for example, 15 and 12, they don't do anything else on the internet apart from Snapchat and TikTok.
Right.
But TikTok, I've never heard of until a year ago.
I've got a 13-year-old daughter who was on TikTok fairly early on, and I was convinced it was basically just like Instagram for teenage girls who want to watch videos of people singing along to songs, right? And then I went out to Dubai in January, met with a guy who was like the head of commercial at Sky News Arabia, and he was talking about TikTok. And I'm like, isn't this something girls watch karaoke on? He's like, are you kidding? We use TikTok as a major distribution channel for Sky News Arabia to distribute sports, news, adults there are using it. But sometimes you don't realise that what you see here is not necessarily what's going on in the rest of the world. And when I was looking at messaging, and we started launching content over WhatsApp, and then the guys in France were like, "Are you not doing Telegraph?" And I was like, "Telegraph?" The only time I heard about Telegraph was when the Russian drug dealers were using it because it had end-to-end encryption. It's like, well, no, in France, most people use Telegram as one of their main communication channels. So it's different in every market. And if you want to be in another market, get to the TransPerfect role now, part of an effective global marketing distribution strategy is understanding what are the channels to market in each market, what channels are they using, how do I create the right content for that market and for that channel in order to get in front of that customer. Yeah, TikTok is increasingly one of them.
Who uses TikTok here? Put your hands up.
Guy at the back.
One guy at the back.
For news or for watching karaoke videos? Watching karaoke videos, yeah.
Wonderfully honest of you, thank you very much for your input. Okay, so we've been very guilty of this over the years with sessions that we've moderated here and at Phocuswire and ITV and lots of other places, talking about the year of the mobile. And it was the year of the mobile for about 10 years, I think it was. I mean, it was ridiculous.
I think we built a website in 2001.
Yeah.
And then WAP is crap became the phrase.
It's crap, yeah.
But it took about another 5 to 10 years before anybody was doing anything actually clever.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder whether we're into a kind of a new phase of the year of the mobile because it's been the year of voice for a couple of years. Arguably.
Yes, and the year of mobile's been and gone now, but I think, well, in terms of firstly on mobile, where's mobile going? I think mobile was doing a very good job for, people would browse on the bus, but they would still go home and transact on desktop for anything that was a large purchase or a holiday because you actually just, you want to get into it a bit more on your desktop rather than actually buy a £1,000 holiday on your phone. I think the next phase of mobile is what I would call the kind of end-to-end conversion funnel. I think particularly younger audiences, they're actually much more confident in actually doing that whole booking a city break on your mobile phone, which maybe a year or two it would have been. The conversion rates were terrible on mobile, and I know because we had various transaction capabilities on mobile, and it was about a third of what it would be on desktop. So I think that conversion rate is going up because people are getting more and more comfortable doing the end-to-end search. To your point about voice. Is it the year of voice? I mean, around 20% of searches at the moment, I think, are voice. It is growing rapidly. 20% of searches, according to Google, are on voice. I mean, there are different stats in different places. I did see one that said 2020 is going to be the year that voice tips 50%, which I think was what I think is optimistic. Yeah. Somewhere between. So let's assume it's somewhere between 20 and 50. But when you listen to the radio now, this year is the year where I heard say, listen to us on your smart speaker. Before it was like, listen to us on your radio. So now there's and I think as Amazon, as Alexa, as Google have just invested a lot in trying to get voice search into people's homes by selling them for less than 50 quid. The reason they're doing that is because they know they've captured desktop search, they now want to capture voice search. And actually it was here last year that I saw a presentation from a guy who'd been working on voice search for Virgin Trains. And what he said was that normally if you're a regular business commuter and you try to book your Virgin Trains online, you go on the website, you go through, I think it was 5 pages, 20 clicks, and it would take you 4 minutes to book your train ticket back into London. They had created their voice search skill, as they're called, where you could just say, book my train to London tomorrow at 9:30, and you could do it in 2 to 3 sentences in 20 seconds. So the point I made when I first started here was, if it's quicker, if it's cheaper, if it's easier, and if anyone cares, then I think things will blow up and be taken on board. So if Virgin Trains now managed to roll that out for commuters, I think voice search is very effective on something that's functional, something that people do regularly, and then it will work very well. Now where it's not going to work very well, they say a picture paints 1,000 words, and in travel, when you're selling a travel experience, and you want to see the hotel, and you want to see the destination, voice is never going to replace that, because you cannot see what you're booking. So voice has a very specific place for functional questions, but the inspirational piece I can never see being a pure voice arena.
But if the voice technology is connected to whether it's through a Nest or whatever, to the TV that then shows you the inspiration, then that perhaps closes the gap.
Yeah, and that's voice search, but with a kind of visual a visual display on it. And and maybe, I mean, anybody who's got what are they called, Amazon Fires or Amazon, all the plug in the Italian things, they're trying to get you to just say, play the next episode of X, and effectively training people to use voice. And so, yeah, in terms of whether people would search for a holiday and then throw it up on their TV. We talk about mobile, in the year of mobile, they talk about convergence for 20 years as well, in terms of everybody's just going to be browsing the internet on their TV, but then when you sat there with remote control, trying to move around, clicking letters, that's where voice is probably going to accelerate conversion, because it will be easier to ask your TV a question, or browse, or do those sort of things on TV.
Okay, so Skyscanner, which was the first travel brand to have an Alexa skill, it was quickly followed by Kayak and a bunch of others as well. But it's now 4 years ago that I was at Fitur, which is the Spanish version of WTM in Madrid, and we kind of did a demo on stage, and we were crossing our fingers because you should never do live demos work with kids or animals on stage, right? But it did work. And that was 3 or 4 years ago, and some of the brands have reined in their kind of stuff that they were doing. Is that because we're just at that kind of nascent stage where people just aren't comfortable with doing it, or not?
Well, it's interesting because actually the fastest growing part of TransPerfect's business is something called Data Force, and it's all about voice and AI, and the job that they have been doing originally was working for the Amazons, the Googles, because every time someone asked it a question, but let's say it was in a broad Scottish accent, and Alexa went, I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question, that little audio file would drop into a folder, and human beings, and we have like thousands of micro workers who would sit and listen in all these languages to then write into a computer what that person had asked. So it would train, or it would provide the data for Alexa to then leverage machine learning and AI to improve the search. But it still took a human being to listen to the broad Scottish accent and say this is what they were actually asking. Now that was, the fangs, the upper tier of people actually owning the devices doing voice search. What we are already seeing, that division that sort of works for brands trying to optimize voice search grew 8,000% in 2019. Because brands are increasingly now getting involved and saying, we have a whole bunch of data, now whether that's audio files from a call center, or they've just got a whole bunch of, customer reviews and that sort of thing. They want to start applying AI data to that, but ultimately they need human beings to listen or to scan through it and create tags, but then the AI machine learning can apply to the rest of the data, so that voice search gets better and better. So again, it's slow, and those people who are 4 years ahead were probably like me when I created a website in 2001. The right idea at the wrong time. Good ideas need to be the right idea in the right place at the right time. And I think people building kind of voice search apps 4 years ago were just like ahead of the game before the user behaviour has caught up with it. And the user, but again, those people who are ahead of the game are the ones that are likely to win. Some of the bigger companies just wait and see and let loads of startups and VC burn loads of money trying to work out what's going to work, and then swoop in and pick up the good bits.
I sense some cynicism about VCs burning money in the travel industry.
Actually, my VC did very well on somewhere. They got a 6x return. So.
Okay, we'll get to an audience question now. If anyone has another one, just please use the Slido thing. We missed one earlier, but I'm going to kind of rephrase it for a question that I've got later on. So, Joel, it's down on that screen as well. So, what is it about television as the next booking channel for holidays? Or not? So maybe to kind of briefly reference TV just a moment ago.
Well, this is a follow-on from the point about conversion, right? I still think there is what I would call a sort of user friction between treating your TV the same way you would have treated your laptop. I think voice, as I said, is going to accelerate that conversion, because the most annoying thing about trying to do anything on your TV is using the push button remote. So I think if you bring in the voice search and then bring in the internet capability of TVs now, which again seems to have taken an incredibly long time. I have an LG TV, it's supposed to be smart, and trying to navigate around the apps and download apps is just like a car crash compared to what it's like on, let's say, an Apple device. Did Apple ever bring out their TV, by the way? They kept talking about it.
Was there an Apple TV?
No, I think they do the box rather than the actual TV itself.
Okay.
But yes, I think it will be a growing channel. But I think one of the things about what brands need to be doing is basically creating great content and then working out how they adapt that for a variety of channels. So they get kind of efficiencies and scales from creating content. And obviously, TV's always been a great place for inspiring people on travel programming, digital travel channels, and that sort of thing. I think kind of crossing over from where it's been, which is just like, oh, now call this number, and trying to drive calls. It's never been huge, but it will be a growth area. But the fact that you're creating content doesn't necessarily mean it has to be specific for the television. It's content for your website, it's content for your social media channels. It's just another distribution channel, and one that is probably waning. If we go back to kids, they're watching YouTube and TikTok and stuff. They're not really watching terrestrial TV channels.
Okay, which one? Let's do this one first. What do you believe is the future of influencer marketing, formerly known as bloggers?
It's definitely incredibly powerful. I think the influencers are enjoying a renaissance at the moment in terms of how much some of them are able to charge. And it's a little bit like SEO back in the day, right? You knew you needed to be doing it. Everyone else was doing it, but you weren't quite sure whether it was going to work or not, or even kind of how to track it properly and work out if that was a better investment than investing in pay-per-click, where you knew exactly what you were going to spend and you could track exactly how it converts. We did a little test back when I was at TransPerfect, where we worked with 3 different levels of influencers, the sort of kind of up-and-coming ones who were willing to go on a deal that we did to the Ritz, dinner at the Ritz. Some were willing to go for free just because they got a free dinner at the Ritz, and they had to show their audience, they had a small audience. Some were called micro-influencers who had a decent following and maybe wanted 500 quid plus the cost of going in order to share it and film stories. And then what I would call, not a mega influencer, but a bigger influencer who wanted like 2 or 3 grand to go. And what we found is there was not a direct ROI immediately from what they shared in terms of their experience for people they're going through and booking. So it's very hard to treat it in the same way you would other kinds of forms of digital marketing. It's starting to pay for itself if you then retargeted that traffic, because people don't see something and then buy it the moment they see it, right? You need to usually think about it, see it maybe 2 or 3 times, and then you actually go to purchase. So when you layered the influencer marketing with retargeting marketing, then actually you can start to see ROI. And in the test that we did, we actually found that micro-influencer layer was more effective than the mega-influencer layer. But that's going to be different based on different brands. It's the same thing with anything in digital, right? So test and learn, test and learn, test and learn. So yes, they're influential, particularly in travel, partly because that's the kind of content that's out there on Instagram. That's where people are getting their ideas from. And so of course, the guy who's a very good photographer who goes around the world holding his girlfriend's hand can end up with more influence in terms of travel booking than probably the Telegraph travel section.
Yeah. Another question here, going back to the Google topic. So will meta search, kayak, Skyscanner, hotel, survive Google's move into travel search? And what should they do to continue to be relevant?
That's a really interesting question, because I have to say, with the greatest respect to Hugo, when Cheap Flights sold to Kayak for 600 million, it was a big number.
Quite sure it was as much as that. But it's the Momondo group.
The Momondo group is Kayak for a lot to Kayak, and at the same time, Skyscanner sold to Ctrip China for 1.2 billion. I might be getting
yeah, it's
not a billion. It's not more. What I found really interesting about that was, firstly, it was great to see 2 UK-founded companies being the centre ground for this battle between East and West to own the meta search space. And I congratulate both the founders of Momondo and Skyscanner for being able to cash out gloriously on that. But it was pretty clear that once Ctrip bought Skyscanner, that I think the powers that be in America kind of started to panic a little bit, and that was part of the reason for the purchase price of Cheap Flights and Momondo. But I do remember being at a Google summit in Zurich, where they used to do these travel summits and invite travelers. And I remember, and it was just after the purchase of ITA, and they were talking about what they were going to do in flight search. And I remember Hugo, the founder of Cheap Flights, sitting in front, slowly going pale, as Google just basically announced that they were going to own flight meta search. And that's potentially a reason why he got out. I think it will be challenging for any company that doesn't differentiate themselves from the way in which Google is going to search, unless there's some legislation, which there may well be, that when the European governments decide that they're abusing their monopoly power to push their own services above food services, which is, they've had pretty soft teeth, if that's the right word, in terms of really legislating. If that legislation doesn't come to curtail the powers of Google, then I think they're going to have a really tough time surviving.
Would you say, as we kind of draw towards a close here, then, Joel, I mean, would you say that Google is probably going to be, or is already the first Western Hemisphere super app for travel?
Yeah, there was a good article I read about Google Maps being kind of ubiquitous. I think any app which manages to drive repetition of use, constant engagement, are the ones that are likely to win because they're the ones that are going to be able to cross-sell other services. So Google Maps started off just being a map, and now it's a search tool, it's a travel planning tool, it'll be a taxi booking tool, it might be a food delivery tool, in the same way that Grab, obviously WeChat, and I can't pronounce it, Meituan, thank you. What they're doing is they're finding a use case where you get that regular, multiple times a day use case, and then they bolt on the things that you do once a week, like a takeaway or travel. So, super app, Google's obviously in a great position to do that. But then there are others, there are other ones that are trying to compete, like Citymapper, where they're again offering a service that you want to use every day, and can they survive while Google's competing with them? Jury's out. They have to differentiate. They have to do something better than what Google's doing.
Yeah, and this kind of goes to the question that came in very early on, which was that Google can capture certain spaces, but do you think they have the same grip on emerging markets such as India, where those super apps are already existing and already have a lot of power?
Well, we know China is Baidu and WeChat. We know Russia is Yandex. We know Korea is Naver. So they may own a lot of the Western world. But they are struggling in other markets, and that's why any global strategy has to look at each market, like I said earlier, and what the channels and what the routes to market are. But certainly the Western world, it's hard to see anybody kind of competing with Google. But I do think I think there's a difference as well. I think you made a point right at the beginning that in order to understand where we are and where we're going, it's useful to look back at where we've come from. Now, the reason WeChat is so massive in China is because they didn't have smartphones. The phones that they had very low memory, and they couldn't install loads of apps on their phones, so they had to install WeChat and use that as a gateway app to then pull in these other micro programs or these other services. So it was a functional thing, whereas here in the West, we've had better phones, bigger memories, and I think personally, we are more used historically to saying, if I want to book a hotel, I'm going to use this app. If I want to search for flights, I'm going to use this app. Being quite happy to have an app for each of the services that we know and love, because I've got the Skyscanner app, but and they offer hotel search, but I use it for flights. I'm not, just because they have hotel search doesn't mean Skyscanner is going to become a super app and start competing with some of the better apps for booking hotels. So I think it's different in different markets.
Yeah. So the super app on the horizon that actually doesn't have any particular travel products at the moment, but has almost the most potential is Amazon. So a year ago in May, Amazon in India started doing flights through a white label that they had with ClearTrip, which is a local Indian OTA. Maybe testing the waters with various things. And Amazon has done things in the past. It's done deals, probably coinciding with your time at TravelZoo. Talk to us about Amazon. Is it just a question of waiting for them to press the button? Because they've got so much opportunity here. It makes you wonder why they haven't done it.
So, anybody who underestimates Amazon's ability to come into a market, trash everyone's margins, put people out of business, and then sometimes decide to get out of it again, does so at their peril. And yes, Amazon did move into the deals market. They had a team of about 100 people in the UK going around signing hotels. They used to phone up every hotel that we publish at TravelZoo and say, what commission are you paying? Oh, 15%, oh, we'll do it for 7%. And they just went around doing it for less margin, which is what Amazon do, and then they realised that actually the economics aren't there at 7%. And so 2 years in, they just shuttered the whole operation and fired everyone and let them go.
I don't even think it lasted 2 years.
Maybe not even. And you can say the same thing about Google. So Google got into the deal space. They bought a German My Deals, I think it was called. Again, I went to the same summit and I sat down with the guys, having heard about how they were going to roll out this deals platform. I said, this is an aggregator. It makes absolute sense. Organise the world's information, take feeds from all the other deals providers, plot them on a map, deliver them through search, charge a margin, charge a makes absolute sense. But why would a big business like Google, which is a technology platform, hire people to walk up and down the streets of Newcastle trying to get an Indian restaurant to give them 2 for 1, and then deal with a lady who phones up because the voucher's gone into a spam folder, or she wants to know if she can change the date that she puts on that something. And literally the guy at Google who's running Google Deals, his face went white again, and then my contact who came to me afterwards said that was the funniest meeting I've ever heard, because he basically came up to me afterwards and said, we really haven't thought this one through properly, have we? And Google shuttered their deals program. So, you know, yes, you need to be wary of the giants, but also the giants have tried and failed in numerous instances to roll services out. And in terms of like Amazon in the travel space, I think some of it will come down to whether, what you find is that people who are good at selling products think they'll then sell travel, and then find that maybe the intent isn't there, or the brand strength isn't there, and actually, I've got this inventory on my homepage, or I've got this inventory on my email. If I can make more by selling them, whatever, books, products. I mean, we saw this in Woucher, right, in the UK. Woucher launched as a deal platform, they were doing very well selling whatever, teeth whitening and mattresses and phone mattresses, all that sort of thing. Thought we were getting to travel, and then what you found is people weren't going to them for their travel deals. People weren't buying it, and actually they thought, we've got this email inventory, we can either sell a teeth whitening or a holiday. If we sell more teeth whitening, we're going to use the inventory for that. So the question will be whether Amazon can be smart with their inventory and use it for the right people, the right time, right place point to start pushing travel, or whether they'll realise that actually all they're going to do is they're going to kind of migrate revenue that was going to go into other stuff they can sell into travel, and it's a zero-sum game. And you know, we won't know until they try again, but they have tried and got it wrong before, so we'll see.
And just final, I'm very conscious of the time, but we've gone over it by a couple of minutes here. Right at the beginning, when you said who wins, when we talking about who wins and who loses and what excites you, you sounded, I think it would be safe to say, very positive about what can happen. But you have said previously, you know, there are things that still need to be solved. The technology can help with, we hope. Can you just give us 1 or 2 examples of what you think are the biggest pain points that in the future technology you think will be able to solve? We'll finish with that.
So I'll do 2. One, forgive me, that relates to why I'm doing the job that I'm doing now, which is that I think technology is going to enable brands to manage that, like multiple channels, content creation across multiple channels, multiple markets, multiple languages. It's traditionally been incredibly labour intensive and a nightmare to manage. And why I joined TransPerfect is because the tools are now there in terms of machine translation and machine learning, integration of CRMs. We've got proxy delivery, which will allow you to launch multiple websites without people having to do anything, because we can spine the website and then just serve up multi-language versions of that website. So from a personal point of view, what I think is exciting in terms of solving is making it hands-free and easier for brands that want to sell into multiple markets to not have to go through labour intensity. Less of a plug, I would say there are still some horrible experiences in travel, like I was in Italy trying to hire a car, spent ages queuing up. You get to the front of the queue, you fill out a load of forms that you already filled out when you booked it online anyway. They then give you a bit of paper, send you to somewhere else, you go somewhere else, someone else meets you, and you go through another rigmarole with them, and then finally they give you a key. So there is now technology that will allow you to book it on your phone, walk to where the car that you've hired is, unlock the car and get in and drive away. And it may be geeky, but that to me is like, why has that taken us 20 years to solve this horrific user experience? And the same in hotels. Who here hasn't wandered around a hotel room late at night trying to work out how to turn all the lights off, or how to stop the air conditioning from whirring? And you go to a Citizen M, and you pick up your iPad, and you can control your lights, and your air conditioning, and all that sort of thing from your iPad. So some of these things that are still annoying now, I'm excited to see that there is some great technological solutions for just taking those little bits of pain away out of the travel experience.
Okay, so dare I say, quite unusual for a vendor trade show. You've been incredibly gracious by not constantly plugging your current job. So we're very grateful that you've been talking about.
I got away with it once or twice.
Well, no, that was fine because it was in context, which is great. So we were really grateful when we talked about some of the history and how that kind of leads into what we might expect in kind of travel's next era. If you're interested, just to end on a lighter note, something that I saw last night on Twitter, and you can, if you follow me on Kevin Luke Made on Twitter, convergence of technology and generations and what might happen. And this is to do with my profession. So there's a reporter in the US, and he's doing a piece to camera about the weather. And he's using his own phone, which happens a lot now. So a lot of reporters are recording their own pieces with their own phone, and then it goes down the pipe into the newsroom. So he starts doing his report, and by accident, the filter on his Facebook Messenger starts clicking on. So he's doing this piece to camera, talking about the weather, and he turns into like a devil. And then he gets some horns, and then he gets some cute glasses, and then his hair goes really big, and then it goes dark and everything. It's really, really funny. So that's kind of a lighter note to it. So I think that was great. I mean, we've gone over time, but that was brilliant, Joel. So everyone give Joel Brown and Bravo a small round of applause.
Thanks for coming, everyone. Have a great show.
Travels next year at Phocuswire Europe in the middle of May in Amsterdam if you're interested in that. Thank you.